let's laugh and fight. Heroes rise and fools take flight. Power levels, stats don't track. Plot armor's got my back. Masked ideals, a hollow prize. They rewrite fate with painted lies. Stripped of soul, the stories break, but legends stand, no force remake. The jesters act, no need to frown. Flip the script, we turn it around. Laugh at the hype, roll with the fun. If I'm the punchline, the joke's just begun.
Hey, we are live.
So there was a problem with the Rumble though, because I can't seem to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I do not see the live feed going on Rumble right at the moment, so that's a little
See one
troublesome. But all right, growing pains. First time live stream. These things happen.
I'm trying to fix it.
Yeah, no worries. Worst case scenario, we'll get it all sorted out for next week, but make sure everything is playing over here on YouTube real quick.
That's participants. That's let's see. My only problem is it shows the StreamYards as the participant, but
right.
It is like saying it is, but I can't seem to get to present the screen.
Yeah, I'm still getting the notify screen over here on YouTube. What is up with that? Let me.
YouTube should be
playing. Okay. Yeah. No. I see it. I see it now. It's just my phone's just being a pain in the ass.
Yeah, YouTube's fine. It's Rumble.
Really. All right. Indeed. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Jester's Act. We're being a couple clowns here. It looks like. Get this Rumble feed up and running as soon as possible. Hopefully. I have to resend the link. But yeah. This is debut episode. I guess I'll just sit here and vamp for a second while you try to deal with the technical issues. Yeah. I've had quite an interesting day since yesterday. And I forgot to even put on my, I guess, somewhat trademark sunglasses that I'm supposed to be doing on streams now, I guess. Someone told me I should do that, so I'll do that. But yeah, I had an
I'm looking for. One second.
Yeah, no worries. Do what you gotta do. But yeah, no. In case you are aware of who I am, then you already know this. If you're not, I kind of have run afoul of John Del Raz in the past day. He was active in my Discord server after an episode of Old White Road that we did yesterday, where I made it perfectly clear that I do not have any interest in maintaining any kind of an interaction with him going forward. And so he went to my Discord, and I found about it while we were live streaming on Toasty's channel. And so ended up doing like a live read of what was going on the Discord. It was boring and stale, and he is so desperate for attention and relevance that he went to my Discord of all places, which pretty much just functions as kind of like this utility server for mods and content creators and things like that. So it's not really all that active. I mean, it'd be great if people would use it more on the day-to-day. I guess, I mean, wouldn't that be nice? But I deal with a fairly good amount of prominent creators, at least in this kind of pop culture gaming space on YouTube, but I don't really stream on my own channels. I usually just do coasting things like this, or I'm on panel streams. But you've probably seen me somewhere around on either Will of the Fans or Old Light Road, or of course with Toasty. This morning was stream with Honey Badger Arcade. But like, I'm not really somebody that has like a large following or anything like that. So if you're showing up in my Discord looking for relevance, it kind of goes to show how desperate and pathetic you are. So I guess, yeah. If you want to see
I'd
what
have
happened,
to actually cut Rumble for now at least, and then just continue with the shit. I
yeah,
can't seem to figure this out.
yeah, no worries. Yeah, it's counting time there, but I'm not seeing the video coming up, so we'll just move along. But yeah, if you want to see what went down there, you can follow me on X at @problematic_John, or you can just look for Problematic White Guy. And I've got a link to the Discord right there, pinned to the top of my profile. And yeah, if you're interested in seeing what all went down when John Delaraz was on my Discord yesterday, it's like 300 some odd comments that all happened in about an hour and a half or so of time. It's not too exciting, but it was a good bit of people telling him that he's a giant piece of shit that's disingenuous, and is constantly trying to paint himself as a victim, acting like he's a good guy, trying to do narrative control to most situations, acting as though he's somehow high and pious and
Okay, my bad. I figured it out finally. My bad,
no worries,
guys.
no worries, no
All right,
worries.
there we
We'll
go.
get...
It should show soon now.
All right, cool.
I had to
Cool.
scroll up a bit. Apparently, this isn't all like
Yeah,
static.
like I said, it's your first time out of the gate doing all this multi-streaming stuff. You've only even had this StreamYard account for a couple of weeks, and you've just been getting this whole thing set up in that time frame. So this is our maiden voyage doing the multi-streams, so it's bound to
Pretty
happen.
much, we're gonna be discussing the Oblivion Remaster. Why I don't think it's the win Bethesda deserves at all, to be honest.
Sure.
On top of season 2 leaks, and then just a fun discussion about what we would pretty much do in a generic apocalypse. But I wouldn't really do a zombie or a nuclear one, but it would probably be something where the power all goes out and we revert back to before electricity, or some random situation like that.
See,
But
the interesting thing is I almost find that one to be less likely than a different form of apocalypse, but I'll wait till we get to that part of the show to talk about that, because I in some ways we are kind of in the dawning of an apocalypse, if not actually midway through the dawning, and kind of getting into where they would like it to be fully established in the next few years to decades, depending on how resistant and resilient we are and able to kind of knock it back. But yeah, no, the opportunities for apocalyptic situations, they are not zero.
I will say the zombie one is not very likely.
Well, I mean, it all depends on what your terminology of a zombie is. I mean, there's plenty of fentanyl zombies all around the country, especially a lot in Canada. To my understanding, that's where a lot of the synthetic, there's like specific towns and cities in Canada that are basically just kind of like China in Canada. Like, there's no signs in English or anything like that. Like, it's all just like these Chinese pop-up kind of towns or whatever. And yeah, there's a lot of mass fentanyl production there. And, fentanyl zombies are kind of a thing. I guess it's not a traditional
it's just
zombie, but
people high on drugs. It's not really a
right.
real zombie.
Well,
You have
I
to
mean,
realize it's a disease that spreads. While that's just one person, if they
true enough.
bite you, you don't turn into one. So
Well, I don't want to find out. I mean, I'll put it that way. I'd rather if somebody's all like, gunked up on fentanyl, I'll just let them just, kind of slur their way through the situation. I don't know. I don't want to be doing it.
Well,
But yeah.
I do want to say that I am Heavenly Jester. I pretty much want to do this at least every other week, if not start doing it every week. But you
Yeah.
want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I mean, I kind of did already. I'm
All right.
Problematic White Guy, John, PWG John. People call me all sorts of things. Even quite a few that I probably shouldn't mention online while I'm streaming. But yeah, like I say, I'm referred to in some places as the man on the internet. It's kind of a theme song I have whenever I'm on Stupenzo's streams on Sunday nights, late at night. But yeah, I'm all over
Oh, what's up,
YouTube
Will?
and Rumble. So yeah, it's a pleasure to start this new venture, though. I think it's going to be a little bit more relaxed and low key than a lot of the other things that I
Have a
do.
nice nap, Will. He's in the chat. I see
All
he's
right.
going to sleep before SNH.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Hey, thanks, Will. Thanks for stopping by, man. Get some rest. I will be watching SNH later. And then we've got to do, I'll be doing Who TF Cares with him and Ryan Roger Thay tomorrow at 9 a.m., 6 a.m. Pacific. Because, yeah, he, of course, lives in the Philippines. So he's like, 12, 14 hours ahead of my time zone. And I think you're East Coast. So he's like 12 or 13 ahead of you.
Yeah,
So,
I'm
yeah.
East Coast. Honestly, the best one.
Yeah.
West Coast doesn't compare.
I've lived in all the time zones except for Mountain. I used to live right next to Mountain time zone, but I've never actually lived in the Mountain time zone.
Yeah, but we're just talking the coast, though. Like, we're not talking like because like
I mean, I've lived on both coasts, and I lived in Savannah, Georgia, for a number of years. That's where I went to art school, and studied for game design. I also lived in Virginia as well, so I lived in a couple coastal states. When I was in Virginia, I was more closer to the Blue Ridge Mountains than the coastline. But Savannah, I was
there's a
literally like
famous
20
song
minutes away
that
from
would
the ocean.
tie into the Fallout discussion. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to pull that up, and we could start with that one instead.
Sure.
The fucking what is that song? The West
Country
Coast one.
Roads.
Yeah, Country Roads. I couldn't think of the name.
Yeah. No, it's all right. It's all right. Yeah, no, we can start by talking about Fallout. I mean, we already kind of mentioned a little bit of dystopic future hellscape, so we will.
I do gotta say that this is all apparently leaks, even though the one I'm iffy on is the bottom left picture, the Roman soldiers with the guy who's like the Lucy's father. I don't remember.
Kyle MacLachlan.
I don't remember names. Like,
That's
I'm
all
very
right. That's all
terrible
right.
with that.
I'm a giant David Lynch fan, as you can see here in the background. I've got Inland Empire just kind of playing in the background. But yeah, he was Agent Cooper in Twin Peaks, amongst a few other characters in as you watch the whole thing. And then he was also in Velvet and Dune.
I mean, I haven't watched Dune, even though I should have. But like, when it comes to that photo in particular, I do think it's fake because those do not like the one in the top left picture. Obviously, looks like Roman, like the legionnaires there from New Vegas.
Yeah.
But I feel like those are from like Monty Python or some shit. It's not even like
They're not
even
very
like
dirty.
Fallout.
Well, I mean, it could be something where it might be something that's set in the past, maybe.
Well, to be honest, like I don't know where like they would get caught in like that because like I in the Fallout franchise we have yet to see mutated sheep.
Right.
We know there's cows, but obviously cows would make leather, not really like.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
cotton comes from plants. Wool.
no, I know, no, but
yeah.
yeah, I thought about wool. It could be cotton because I feel like they might have farms in the Legion area.
Possible.
They probably would, but I'm not sure if they would grow cotton and not just like regular food.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a dystopic hellscape like that, most things are probably going to be fashioned out of something like leather, or with it being the future, they've got the jumpsuits and everything like that. But
Well, so the
this
Legion wears like what's it called? Like
Roman
sports
kind of,
gear. They
yeah,
wore
yeah,
and they fashioned them to look like Roman soldiers.
right. Yeah, I mean, this could be early on, before the bombs. Actually,
No,
that would
they would.
justify
It
war.
wouldn't be
Yeah,
before the bombs. This like so the Legion was formed. I want to say at
yeah,
least within the 22 hundreds.
yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah,
like I think I'm not sure how old Caesar is, but he's at least 50, I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
And I think I forget the direct time New Vegas takes place, but I want to say it's 2282.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't watched season 1. I hear mixed things about it. So I don't know how closely they're keeping to the established lore. I've heard certain things are kind of a little bit askew. So I don't know if they're going to deviate. So yeah, but yeah, you're right.
So that's
If
really
if
the
they're sticking to
reason.
the lore, if they're sticking to the lore, yeah, they shouldn't be doing this whole Spartan thing until people are, already dealing with the fallout.
I will say I don't think any of the Legionnaires wear something like that cape the guy has. Like they all like even Caesar doesn't wear a cape like that. So I have no idea like genuinely what type of Legionnaire wears that.
Yeah, I mean,
Even the
it is an
Centurions.
adaptation though, so I mean, it could be. I mean, it
Well,
of the three pictures
apparently
that
it
are
is canon to the games, so that's one of the reasons I deeply hate this show.
right, right. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm just saying, canon. I I when season 1 came out, they dropped all the episodes on one day, and
And I think that was a mistake because people love that show. Even
well, I think people love that show because they dropped it all in one day. Because I have this theory, right? If you have something that's kind of like just popcorn, right? You don't really want people to spend time with it and really think about it, dissect it. You drop it all at once because then it's like, oh, I've got 6 to 8 hours of content to watch here, and you watch it all in one go. And so it just kind of washes over you, and you don't really take time to really kind of analyze as much what you're going through, and you don't have time to break down what I watch over the course of an hour. Uh, as well, when you have to break down what have I been watching for the last 6 to 8 hours.
I feel like the average household though didn't like binge it. I feel like they watched maybe an episode or two at least a day. Like I
Um, I mean, I know a lot. I mean, of course, I talk to content creators and whatnot, and so all the people that I knew just watched it all in one go. And so what I'm saying
that's not
is
I'm
for
saying the average person though. Like the average person I
possibly,
feel like are way too busy compared to content creators who do this for a job.
I know a lot of people that do binge watching. So I think it's probably mixed, but what I'm saying is at least, and it might just be the skewed view of, most people I know, content creation. And so a lot of people, because that's part of my reason why I never watched the first season. Because I was like, if you're going to drop all of that on one day, it seems like it's probably a turd in some ways. And they don't want you to actually be able to watch it
Well,
for an
I
hour.
feel
And
like
then,
because Bethesda like has gotten so much hate after 76, after Starfield, they didn't expect the show to be loved, but it's loved by the wrong people. It's loved by
right. But
people who
what
haven't played the games, who haven't like got deep into the lore.
Right, right, but that's what I'm saying though, is that if it happens all at once and you don't watch if you watch an hour, you can sit here and be like, "What was it I just watched?"
Well,
You kind of
that's what I was trying to explain.
recollect it a little bit more. I know, but
They did it because they thought it was gonna fail.
right, right, right. But that's what I'm saying though, is for those people that did watch all 6 to 8 hours, however long the
Yep.
playtime is for the whole thing. What I'm saying is I think that they watched it at a surface level, and as long as it looked at the surface decent enough, but
No, I
that
completely agree. I feel like
so
no actual fans love this show, and if they are fans, they're fan of Bethesda, not the old games.
yeah, I mean, I know a few people that said that they were adapting the play mechanics and things like that into the characters and this and that. And so like any adaptation, there's
Well, I thought
nothing's
that
ever
was afterwards, and the people actually made sheets in them for the characters. Like, maybe like one of the script writers, I feel like did that. They,
well, I know like the one guy who's in the who's in the actual Fallout, in the power armor, he's something of an idiot, which, that's his intelligence his
I don't know
intelligence.
the guy's name. I don't know the actor's name, but the Brotherhood guy who like fails upwards throughout the
Yeah,
entire show.
he's got low intelligence, but he's got high luck. Is kind of like
I
the thing,
feel
and
that completely.
that could be people just trying to make sense of it all. But again, it's like when you adapt anything from one media to another, there are always going to be changes. So, Kyle MacLachlan being in it, as much as I appreciate him as an actor, I don't know, I kind of I'm not really a big, as you said, 76. I have a copy of it now. I think that I got for free at some point in time. I still haven't played it. I think my brother uses my account to make trades with his primary. But yeah, I got Fallout 4 and I got into it and I noticed there was some stuff back in my game design days. I actually had a like 4 to 6 hour long conversation with Emil Pellegrino. Paglia,
Rulo or whatever.
yeah, Pagler. No, yeah, it's hard as hell. I can never say his name correctly. Either way,
That
we were.
dude like is very hated like by
Oh
people who
yeah,
are
I
old
understand why.
fans.
I've had, like I said, I had a conversation with him for 4 to 6 hours, and some of the things that I talked to him about uh, ended up kind of being in Fallout 4. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that he took my ideas and ran with them, but he did give me his contact information and told me to get a hold of him, and then 2 weeks later, completely ghosted me. Because I talked to him. I was at GDC one year, talking to him about this game narrative that I'd written when I was in art school called Haven's Fall, and I told him how like it could fit into a
Do
Fallout.
you know what like part of Fallout that you think he copied or
Oh
because
yeah,
I know the main quest was teased all the way back in Fallout 3.
yeah. Like the stuff in there. I mean, the stuff about the echelon, all that kind of stuff is pre-established, but like the thing about the robots that think they're humans and all that kind of stuff. Like we had like I said, this
Well,
was a
I
broad,
think it was
wide-ranging
more so
conversation.
Blade Runner that really got them into it, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, there were certain kind of things I looked at, and I might have been just a little bit jaded because, like I said, I talked to this guy for like 4 to 6 hours. He seemed like he was very intent on, keeping in contact with me. Thought, hey, maybe wouldn't it be cool? I could work on a Fallout game, possibly. But the game that we were working on had a whole bunch of, it was set in a dystopian hellscape kind of reality.
To
Not
be fair, I don't
not
consider
exactly.
any of the Fallout games a hellscape. It's too colorful nowadays.
Well,
It was
right,
different
but
with
when I say hellscape, I'm not talking about the way something looks, like I'm talking
right.
about like,
It's
just
just the theme, right?
right.
We
Like
should
everything's a
probably get back
wasteland
to the
there.
topic though. Like we're well, I mean, I'm not trying to rush you. Like if you want
Yeah.
to continue, I'm just I just so when it comes to stuff like that power armor suit you see, because it's just Bethesda really continuing to pretty much how do I put this? Pretty much just copy something that's old and make it modernized with them.
Right. Um, yeah, I mean, oh, Here, let me bring that back up here.
Everyone loves power armor. Like it's just a gag at this point because like so when it comes to Fallout 1 and 2 and then I think in 3 it's actually said that once again I think I'm on the wrong page, my bad. It's actually
worries.
said that pretty much before the nuclear apocalypse there's only a few suits ever finished. There was the T-51 and then the T-45.
Oh yeah, no, it's one of those things where it's like, whenever as the games progressed, you see more and more people in power armor, and then it just kind of becomes like this thing where it's like, I thought resources were scarce. It was
I just so it's either
yeah,
that they found this ranger power armor, because and that's unlikely because it was only within the last 15 years, like specifically when the Chinese invaded Alaska in Fallout, where they really progressed the power armor. I can believe that the T-60 in Fallout 4 was created before the war, and I know that XO1, which appears in pre-war military installations, was created post-war because the Enclave created it, but somehow they show in Fallout 4 in abandoned installations. It's just they're using power armor in every game, a new type, a new whatever. Fallout 76 has at least 3 canon power armor like suits that are canon, not like skins or anything.
right.
So it's just like how many times can you create power armor while it being realistic that these are actually a thing?
I think that there's a certain amount of just kind of they're not too concerned about the realism. I mean, it's Bethesda. Look at
But
the way that
lore is something to be like, and they
I
also
understand, but
but so someone at Bethesda, I think it was Pete Hines, came out and said that we're not beholden to 20-year-old lore. And I'm just like, how could you say that when your games are RPGs? The lore is the most important part of RPGs. The story is the most important part.
yeah, I mean, I suppose you could try to cover that up by saying, the bombs drop, everybody's got their own records, communications aren't that good, and so like they're all just kind of working off of what they know, and then they kind of will try to say, oh well, but we weren't here in this part of the world the last time you played the game, so they didn't know about this, or I
I
think
know one of
I
the power armors in 76 is
mm,
a excavator power armor where it pretty much gets you ore twice as fast. And it's just like, I mean, I guess that could exist, but like you gotta admit that it's really like stupid to use power armor that's a military weapon to mine ore.
right. I think though ultimately, and this is like for people who actually love the lore and this and that, I think that they look at it more as a game experience first, and they just want to like have the mechanics and the all the actual systems working to the best of their ability. I mean, clearly they always have bugs and things like that, but like the damage detection and like the way that weapons fire and all that kind of stuff. I think that they're just more concerned at the end of the day, even though the story is a big part of an RPG. I don't think it matters to them all that much, which is basically what they
No,
said
that's
with
why a lot of people are pissed at them, really. Because it really doesn't matter to them.
yeah. I mean, ultimately they made a game, it made money, they made another game, it made money, and so on and so forth. And so they have to kind of keep saying,
Well,
oh well,
the funny
but
thing
this too.
is, the like they Todd the Todd like you Todd obviously you know him, the head of fucking
Yeah.
Bethesda pretty much.
Yeah.
He wanted to create a IP that is directly his, because when he joined Bethesda, he joined after Elder Scrolls was a thing, and even then, I think Elder Scrolls was bought out by Bethesda to actually create them, just like
Right,
how Fallout was. But Fallout was really a scummier like situation, really,
right, right.
because Bethesda actually used some really scummy court shit to actually take the rights from Fallout from Black Isle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Bethesda is. I mean, Bethesda's not even Bethesda now at this point. They're just a Microsoft subsidiary. But yeah, the back and forth between all the things that have happened throughout the years, that's part of the reason why they say they don't have to be beholden to all that old lore, is because they it's not them, like they didn't do that. And so I think it's like, when Disney bought Marvel, when Disney bought Star Wars, I'm the guy who owns it now. Don't tell me what to do with the thing I own. And I don't agree with that per se, because I think when you are making stories and creative kind of things, you're not necessarily making it for yourself. You're making it for an audience, and if you do want to have an audience that can actually exist around actual hard coded lore, as it were, then you actually have to steward that, and you have to really care about shepherding it. But I think that their interest is more on just the play mechanics and all that kind of stuff first, and then they just make it look like Fallout, do the thing, and well,
Well,
and
I have
once
to give the show, it does look like Fallout. It's just it doesn't act like it.
yeah, it's a superficial thing. That's why I say I think that they dropped it all at once so that people be like, oh, it looks like the thing. And if you don't get to spend time with it in those short intervals and break it down, then it just washes over you, and you can kind of be like, oh yeah, no, that was a Fallout experience. But if you watch it, more intently, episode to episode, and you can have more time to digest what you just saw over the course of the last hour, rather than all the time it takes from beginning to end, then it might start to fall apart. The more you think about something, like last week's episode of Doctor Who, people were saying, well, it's the best one so far. It's kind of like the best of the worst of Doctor Who. It's the best that they can do with Disney being involved with it now, but it's as good as the worst of some of the other series. But then even the people that were saying that, a couple days later, I asked them, I was like, yeah, but do you really still feel that way a few days removed from it, or were you just kind of relieved that it wasn't the ultra cringe kind of bullshit and things like that? And so I think that you know it, they are not necessarily just doing just a straight up mimic and completely abandoning all the things, but at the same time they are not even adhering to what they've done with it since it's become a Bethesda property rather than Black Isle Studios and all that kind of stuff. So
So I just want to talk about the
yeah,
last image, and then we
yep.
could go to the next topic. So that those type of buildings make me think of North Vegas, the section in New Vegas that was pretty much
Mm-hmm.
taken over by squatters and like have a bunch of destroyed buildings.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I get the sense that the NCR, as you can see, of course, on the power armor, this is going to be in the west coast to Nevada region, primarily
Well, no,
the
we know
whole
this
series.
is in New Vegas because it is teased at the end of the first season.
Right, right, right. Well, I know that it's going to primarily be in there, but I'm just saying, like, there might be aspects and elements if they're going to be
I
including
also
the
want.
NCR. It's
No, go on. I'll
Well,
wait.
I was gonna say, if they're gonna be including the NCR, even if it's just in flashback kind of stuff, but this looks like it's probably more in the contemporary timeline of what's going on in the events of the show chronologically. But
So I watched a YouTuber who actually came up with a really good like explanation for the why the Legion is there. they're actively gonna say that the battle of like the actual like battle didn't happen yet,
Hmm.
like the battle between the Legion and the NCR, because if they do, there's no way they can get around saying one side lost or the other. Like they already fucked up the NCR in their homeland, where they're completely absent from the entirety of California. So it's pretty like there's no like if they actually say that the battle happened, why is the Legion there? The Legion would be scattered or retreating back to Arizona.
Yeah. Again, I think this is just one of those things where you Fallout 76. Uh, Everyone's got power armor. Everybody's got tons and tons of power armor, right?
But I don't think we should use like that game mechanic
I I
because
I do.
also you have to also realize that like players can get it real easily. So they use it.
Right, right. But I'm just saying that Fallout is more of an experience. In their mindset, it's more about setting a tone than it is having a consistency.
Well,
I and
Power Armor really was like after Fallout New Vegas, right? When
mhm,
Fallout 4 came out, you're given Power Armor 15 minutes in. You're not even
mhm.
earning it by the end of your playthrough.
Right, right, right. And that's what I'm saying is that's what the game has become. Is it's all the shiny, sparkly things. It's fan service more than anything else. Because dystopian themes are a dime a dozen. You're gonna meet weird, twisted characters that have like whatever. There'll be ghouls there. There'll be super mutants. There'll be raiders. All that stuff, right? And so they're just kind of
Well, also,
revising on those themes.
you didn't watch the first season, but have you played New Vegas? You have, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you know the fiends, right? The raiders that were in Vault 3 near Camp McCarran.
Uh, it has been a long time since I played New
So
Vegas.
they're a raider clan that pretty much are all chem fiends. That's where they get the name, right?
Right.
So they're causing so much trouble for the NCR. So someone in the show in season 1 comes out and said they're fiends, watch your back. And like I'm just like, how are fiends in California? Like they should be either wiped out because all their leaders are destroyed, or they should be being held back by the NCR. They should not be in California proper.
Yeah. Again, this is one of those like part of the reason why I don't really pay attention to Bethesda stuff anymore at this point in time is because I would be where you are right now. Like I have a certain amount of apathy when it comes to most modern IPs. Like because I think that there's been homogenization in storytelling for things like narrative design, and narrative design is based on theme elements and all this other stuff. The story is one of the lower things on the checklist of things that actually matter to us.
I think one thing that is high on Bethesda's checklist when it comes to games is it's definitely exploration because they do that pretty damn well.
Right.
Like that's
Yeah.
so like recently that's like the only thing that they're doing well. I feel like the stories, especially after Starfield released, are just dog shit.
Yeah, I have avoided Starfail. I like I said, I have not really even played 76. I got into Fallout 4 a little bit. Built a really badass fort that goes around the whole encampment. With uh, what the main town that you kind of do stuff with.
Was it
Garvey.
yeah, yeah,
God,
yeah,
yeah.
Sanctuary it's
Yeah,
called.
Sanctuary. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I built like this really big ass thing there, and I just kind of did some side quest stuff. But then like I was like, this it just felt kind of like it was a fan service game. And that's kind of where I'm just like, well, that's what Fallout is now. It doesn't care enough about itself to actually give a shit about things like lore and whatnot. Like They're just
Well, it's not that the games don't, it's that the devs do. Like they don't care anymore.
well, yeah. I mean, game development is a broad ranging umbrella term. Like so when you're talking about like who is a
Well, I'm
designer, like
talking the people making like I'm talking Emil obviously because
right,
he's
right,
the
right,
head
right,
writer on most stuff and
right.
he needs to be replaced. He's not that good at writing.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is, for the people that are actually doing the quote unquote design, they do system mechanics. They do,
And I think Fallout 4
world building.
had great gameplay mechanics.
Sure,
Like
sure.
like the gun modding, even though I think the guns look like shit, I think the gun modding is really cool. I
Hmm.
think like they upgraded that from New Vegas because you had mods, but there's only like 2 or 3 per gun.
Hmm.
And then they also did the settlement building, which I enjoy, but I think it's a lot of a hassle as well.
Yeah. Yeah, the gun customization is one of the things that I did talk to Emil about in our game that we were working on, Haven's Fall. That was very much about building your own weapons from whatever was around, making zip guns and all that kind of stuff, basically.
Oh
So,
yeah, they had the pipe pistols and stuff, and those are just scrap guns.
hmm, hmm. So yeah, because when the game that we were making was built around a lot of because it was kind of survival themed, depending on where you started out in the world. The whole idea was that you could play through the same world experience through like different factions, and so you would kind of ultimately just realize that everybody here is corrupted and like the world's kind of a piece of shit at this point in time. Like there is no real society, and humanity itself is even kind of in question at that point. And so I think that there are elements of that, that when I talked to him for the length of time that I did, I'm not saying that he took any direct thing from me, but there was definitely things I talked to him about where I look at it, I'm like, huh, that could have been from that conversation. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of Emil, but when I'm talking about
You
the
should talk to Kretosis. I'm not sure if you've seen his work before.
can't say that I have
He's a
top of
very big, like old school Bethesda fan. Like he loves Morrowind, he likes Oblivion, he hates the shit out of Skyrim. Same
my, right.
with Fallout. He's an old school Fallout fan. 1, 2. I think he even likes Tactics, but even though that's really hated in Fallout, but he does like the old school Fallouts because they were good writing and stuff.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and everyone I talk to who's a big Fallout fan and like old school Elder Scrolls hates Emil.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, he's insincere, I mean, that was my takeaway because I mean, like I thought I was having a conversation with somebody but he's a car salesman. I think I mean, yeah, he's but when I talk about the development stuff where I think about what is Fallout, I don't even necessarily and I know lore is an important part of it. It's an RPG, but it's more about those designers that are actually doing the coding and figuring out the systems and making everything work together and stitch that all together and all that kind of stuff.
I do think the code is very important,
Mm.
but I also think that when it comes to design and stuff like the dungeons and stuff,
Mhm.
um I think they do. I think Bethesda does well with dungeon design. Maybe not in Skyrim because, like, with at least with Oblivion, right? Oblivion,
Mhm.
you can pretty much go any like caves were like sprawling, like they you could get lost in them, and that's a good thing because you did want to learn and how to get out on your own and stuff. You wanted to learn as a player, but with Skyrim dungeons, it's a circle. You go into the entrance and then you just loop around.
Right. Yeah, I I've not really I've played Oblivion. I played a good number of hours into it. I've never really gotten to Skyrim because it was just kind of like, all right. I tend to be between the two. I'm more interested in the Fallout form of Bethesda's role-playing games than the Elder Scrolls series. So like I've played them tangentially here and there, but they're not really anything that I've
Shit, I gotta ask a question. Did you start the recording? Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah.
I just had to double check.
No worries.
I didn't start it, so I'm not sure if you did.
Yeah, no.
I think we could go to the next topic then, right?
Sure. Yeah, you want to move over to
The
Oblivion?
Oblivion.
By all means.
With this, I really do think like Bethesda shouldn't get the credit that it's a great remaster of a game. Like even compared to other remasters, like I want to say the Pokemon specific remasters were really good. Like certain ones are better than others. Like Soul Silver versus regular Silver was like Soul Silver is my favorite game of any of them. So, and the fact it got a remaster was really cool.
Yeah, I haven't played a Pokemon since Pokemon Stadium.
That's after
Oh, that was on
Fire.
the GameCube.
No, I know, but that's that GameCube finished its run when exactly?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, like it was back in the early 2000s that I was playing Pokemon
Okay, so
Stadium.
pretty much like I think did that game come after Leaf and I'm sorry, Green and Red and shit?
I honestly couldn't even say.
Okay, well,
Yeah, like
uh,
I used to watch Pokemon like when it was early through like back when it was on original Game Boy. That was kind of my Pokemon era all the way up through Stadium. I never really bought any of the other games. My nephews and stuff, of course, did things like that. But I don't know.
I mean I don't think they're really. I mean I enjoy them to be honest,
Oh
but
yeah, I don't
I
have a
don't.
problem. I'm not really a big Nintendo head,
So
especially once the Wii came around.
getting back to Oblivion though, when it comes to Bethesda, they're getting all the credit. When I feel like after Starfield, after 76, like they just regained all their favor in terms of all they lost with. I mean, not all of it, mind you. Starfield was atrocious, so was the launch of 76, but they did regain some trust with the players, and I feel like they don't deserve it. The company who remastered it do.
Oh yeah. I mean, but that's going to be par for the course for a lot of things. A lot of people, you know, look at the way Marvel has been handled by Disney, and then everybody's like, "Oh, it's complete and utter dog shit." And we're finally getting to the point where people are openly willing to just kind of admit that. But then Daredevil, Born Again season comes out a couple months ago, and so many of those people are like, "I'm so done with this." Like, man, it's gonna be good again. It's like, dude, that girl, she's been cheating on you, and I know she says she's gonna change, but you're a simp,
Well,
and that to me is like a lot of
Disney was running Marvel like of since when? Early 2000s? And they were
Iron
making
Man is
banger
like
after
17,
banger.
18 years old now at this point in
Yeah.
time. Right, but that was a very different thing. Stan Lee was still alive. As soon as Stan Lee
Yeah.
died, then there's a certain amount of like Lord of the Rings. It is going through a metamorphosis right now from a thing that used to be very intent on respecting the lore, appreciating the books, actually knowing what the Lord of the Rings is really about. Um, you know, and now you've got fucking, Rangs of Prime, which is obviously, a skin suited kind of thing. But then you also have that Shield Maiden, Rite of Rohirrim that came out, and that's not really, all that great. And so they're talking about how they're going to go back into this with Ian McKellen and do all this kind of stuff. They're going to try to make some Golem movies. It's like, just no, stop. Like some things don't need to be, constantly revisited. So I think that that's going to be one of those things. A lot of people are very forgiving, just in nature, and they just want the thing that they want to love, right? And
Well,
so
it
they're willing to put
truly
up with
it
a lot.
when it comes to the Oblivion remaster, it feels so much like Stolen Valor that pretty much this company that I mean, I'm not sure if it was them who changed the body type stuff, but it could have been
I
Bethesda
would
told
I
them
would
to.
imagine that has more to do with the middleware itself, especially if it's being done in the Unreal 5 engine.
Yeah,
It,
is it like I've seen videos where it shows Unreal has a hard time making uh I don't know how to say the word
well,
contract.
they've got an androgynous body morph and that's why scalers and all this kind of stuff. So ultimately, it's more of an issue of the middleware than it is some ideological thing. Could it be an ideological thing? Sure, all things are possible, but I
Well,
think
I
that it's
just
more.
like
I
back to
think it's more
my
that the middleware came pre-programmed that way, and they just
yeah.
went with it rather than hiring somebody to go in there and change this, change that, and whatever. So I think that because I know there was a little bit of an uproar about that
Well,
aspect
it
of it, like,
wasn't so
but
much the body type, it was Nexus really that like completely caused the uproar, to be honest.
well, I think that I mean Nexus
He definitely
was
made it
right,
worse.
but they certainly, of course, they generally do for most things, but if there weren't an initial uproar, there wouldn't have been mods for it, right? So that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying is that there are people nowadays that are so hypersensitive to this stuff.
Well, dude, I'm not sure how far you are into the modding shit, right? But there's mods for everything, so it was only a matter of time before someone changed it.
Well, of course, but that's the whole thing why people have their issues with Nexus specifically is it is not about being a modding community. It's about being an ideological community that happens to do modding, and so you have there's a lot of stuff there where they're just like, well, I don't like it, so it's got to go away, you know, and they just don't. They're they're very sensorial over at Nexus Mods, and so they did make a situation worse in and of itself. But also at the same time, you know, the body type 1 and 2 stuff, it certainly is annoying, right? But is it the kind of thing that I'm going to completely flip a table over and kind of be like, so woke? There's
I don't
there's
think
more
many
things that
people are, but like
no, no, no.
I
But
do feel
there
like
are a very loud contingent of people, even within this space the the kind of people that gravitate towards this area of the internet that are just so ambivalent about it, and so that's why I try to bring into the conversation my background with actual game construction, stuff like that, and I just the way that um,
I do got a
development
question though
works.
when it comes to
Mhm.
the body type, like with game mechanics involved. So, like you have experience with that type of stuff, making games and stuff. But how do you, are you sure that it's more so the engine than it is the like or like I guess how do you like how are you
Because
playing out?
the metahuman, it's built in there, like like it's just the middleware itself
You're gonna
is
have to explain what like
all right.
middleware stuff
So
is.
middleware is all right. So rather than building everything from the ground up, a
Yep,
lot of games, and this is why games are so homogenized now. A lot of companies will go and they'll use an engine like Unreal 5, and then they'll
yep.
use, like it's basically by like, buying an app and they just let the app do it, right? And so rather than actually having somebody who figures out, they develop their own engine, they make all the physics, they do all the this and the that, they code every last bit
No,
of it.
I understand
They
that
just
point, but my question really is like, how are you sure that they didn't edit that after doing all that?
because what I'm saying is the middleware is the thing that came that way, and they're trying to keep their budgets down, right?
Yeah.
And so if it has type 1 or type 2 there, are they really going to, want Bill to spend, you know, 10, 15 hours of doing this and that just to take something that's a very superficial, superfluous detail? And that's the thing. Is like when people get so caught up in any one thing, it'd be like, you know, someone saying, this guy that's talking, he's got good points and everything like that, but he's wearing sunglasses, so fuck him. How dare, like it's just like, I don't think anybody's going to do that. But, if you get so ambivalent about nitpicky bullshit at a certain point in time, it's like, well, you're just looking to almost be angry. Like nothing is ever going to be what you
I
want in
think
life.
the average person didn't care, but it was an
Right.
annoyance to them. But
Sure,
then I
sure.
feel like after, like, genuinely, people did start causing more of an uproar after
Right.
Nexus mod like banned 3 mods and came out and lied and said that was because he was posting inflammatory stuff when it was 3 separate users that uploaded the mod, so all of them were doing inflammatory shit. I don't know.
Right, right. Oh yeah, no, like Nexus Mods is insidious and certainly not to be trusted. But that's I'm just saying, you kind of have to take things for the totality of what it is, holistically. Because if you just sit here and say, well, this doesn't meet every little one of my
No,
demands,
I
no,
completely think that the Oblivion Remaster is a great game. I
yeah,
don't really, I mean, I don't even care enough about the buy tape shit to actually install the mod, to be
right,
honest.
right. Because it's like
It's a
it's
pointless change, you know? Like
right.
everything is the same.
Right, and that's the thing is like, and that's why when it was, some of the static from people that are like, "Oh, it's so woke." It's like, dude, let's not try to make everything the end of the world, because if you go, it's kind of like how if everything's awesome, nothing is awesome. If everything is such a, uh, soul crushing defeat because it's there, then it's like, dude, you sit here and you talk about snowflakes and now you're being one. It's like,
I will say that like if they actually called people like if like so when it comes to buy tape stuff, if they
mm,
went with like they them shit
sure,
instead of
then
calling,
there'd be
that would
something
annoy me.
to get in. Yeah, I mean, well, then that would be actively, because again, when Veilguard came out, when Avowed came out, where's the transing center, in this medieval timeline?
Well,
you know
Veilguard, actually no, they did have trans stuff in it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, they do.
I
Like the
forgot.
whole thing about that game is all about like
So when you said the
the head
trans stuff,
designer.
I immediately went towards Tosh, but she's not even trans. She's just like the weird non-binary thing.
Right, but non-binary falls under that whole umbrella though. Like,
Well, no, trans is just you think you're the opposite gender.
uh, yeah,
Non-binary,
well, that's it falls under the same umbrella. It's
fair
there,
enough. I mean, I'm not.
I mean, yeah, there's transvestites, there's transsexuals, and nowadays, like, you call somebody transvestites, like, no, they identify, and that makes them whatever, and it's like they're just not, they haven't had their body affirming surgeries yet, and it's like, but that's getting way into like, okay, now that is some woke shit, right?
Yeah,
If it's just like type 1, type 2, could it be simply male and female? Sure, but like, if that character Tosh flat out comes out, oh, I'm non-binary, like,
they
cringe.
came out and said it like it was modern day. Like they couldn't, and even like so when the mother
Right,
actually responds to Tosh, that she even says that there is a word in their language for that. I would
right.
have rather Tosh came out and said that there whatever that word pretty much I forget what the word was, but You know,
Right, right.
haven't seen news about the game in forever, but
Oh yeah, no, it's nothing to really like, it's such a pointless thing that happened. It's going to be a footnote in history. It's just another failed game from 2024.
I also think older Dragon Age games like pretty much did it well. Like so
Sure.
there is in I forget if it's Inquisition or Origins, but
Well, the thing that you have to remember about Dragon Age Veilguard specifically is it went through 4 different iterations. The 4th iteration was the final one that actually came out as Veilguard. Coringe the Minge Bush, as we like to call her on Will of the Fans, um, Corey, he's a dude, right? But he calls himself Corinne. And, he's got a 5 o'clock shadow that he tries to cover with makeup. He's like, like he's a troon, right? And
all right, well,
so
I'm also on Twitch, so be
yeah,
careful what you say
right, right,
because
right. Okay, all right. True, true, true.
they're like
Yeah, all
YouTube.
right.
I don't think I'll get in trouble, but
No,
Twitch
no,
is
I've said that on YouTube plenty of times, but yeah, I'll try to keep it to a minimum. But the point I'm getting at is there was an ideologue as the head of overseeing all of the development in that specific instance. So that person specifically oversaw the this, the that, and every little detail, got to sign off on it. And so that was somebody who was trying to make a game specifically for a small segment of society. And then they wonder why it has low sales numbers, and not even just low sales numbers, lower overall engagement bucks or exposure dollars, as I like to call them, by
Well,
putting
I
it on
think
Game Pass
so.
and stuff like
When it
that.
comes to Veilguard, they did sell quite a bit, but that's because it was coming off like it was honestly like a 10-year difference between the games or some shit.
Right, but that's because they went through
People were
4
hyped.
iterations of it.
Yeah,
Their
but
development started 4 times.
yeah,
It started off as it was going to be that game, God, Arena, I believe. That live service flopped so hard that they immediately said, "Well, we can't do that." And so they tried to change it to something else. They tried to change it to something else, and they ultimately said, "Let's just make a God of War game and call it Dragon Age and make it about all this ideology stuff." And then when it failed, they went and they said, "Well, we should have done a live service game." And so they ended up right back at like the start of a failed idea and concept.
well, let's
BioWare is completely lost, but
we
yeah,
could go on hours about
right.
Veilguard. I'd rather bring it back
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Oblivion.
yeah.
Um, I mean, I can't think of much more to say. I just think that it's really stolen valor to take like this company who made it also made like the Shadow of Colossus. Fuck, I forget that's I don't know the franchise that's part of, but it's do you know the Shadow of Colossus game?
Eco, of course, Shadow Colossus, and God, Last Guardian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think they're the same devs who remastered that one because didn't that game also get remastered?
1 or 2 of them did. Yeah, I played Eco, the original, all the way back on the PS2, and then Shadow Colossus, I believe, was PS3, and I believe they did a remaster for that.
Yeah, so that's probably the one I'm thinking of. Because
Yeah,
back when the rumors about the Oblivion remaster came out, I watched videos on it and they came out and said like, oh, they do a good this studio does a good job with remasters. It's like they did a great job with Shadow Colossus and stuff. And so that's the only reason I remember that they did work on that remaster in particular.
right, right. Yeah, oftentimes at this point in time in game development, uh, a lot of the work is outsourced, and I honestly feel that that can be a good thing and a bad thing, because if you do a lot of outsourcing to a lot of various places to take care of different parts of it and then just try to stitch it together, the more people that you add to it, the more you're bloating your production and all this kind of stuff. And if you get too many people in the creative end of it, then it becomes designed by committee. Expedition 33 just came out, right? and it's
Yep.
really popular. And it's made by a whole bunch of people that used to work at Ubisoft, and people are like, yeah, but Ubisoft's terrible. It's like, yeah, but the reason Ubisoft's terrible now is because they don't have those 30 some odd people that went and started this new company to make Expedition 33. And so, that's 30 people. It's much easier to find consensus amongst 30
Well, it's
people
like
than it
the
is 300.
saying. It's like the old saying: two programmers can. Or I'm sorry, the other way. No, that is right. Two programmers can do the work of one.
Yeah. Right. But, that's, yeah, that's really what it comes down to. And it's not as though it's even going to be necessarily faster to have more programmers, writing
It's
code,
just a
because it
lot
all
more
has to work better.
bureaucracy in the
Right.
company, really. Like it's
Right.
more so checking over each other's shoulders.
Right.
I also feel like when it comes to the game industry, I'm gonna be on a side tangent here, but when it comes to the game industry, it feels like there's a lot of people who have a lot to say that shouldn't. Like
Mhm.
it feels like there's a lot of different people who can't agree on stuff and actively that one person wants one thing but the other wants another, and it's up to corporate to decide who gets the what. And it does feel like a lot of the weirdos do get their way more times than
Oh
not.
yeah, and that's been documented plenty of times, because generally what you have is you have your actual designers in the middle. They're sandwiched in between low-level, compliant, pliable, more often than not, ideologically minded DEI hires that want to get to the top as quickly as possible. They've got stars in their eyes. They just, they want the glory, but they don't want to
They're
do
not
any of
in
the
it for
grueling.
the game. They're in it for
Right.
the
The
honor
paycheck,
and
the
shit, the
commission, the
paycheck.
the oh, I'm a game dev, it's yeah. And then the people at the top uh spend a lot of their times in meetings all day. And so if you're actually somebody who's creative, the creative people generally stay towards the center, right? Because they just keep their head down, they do the work, they're just trying to do their job. They're
Well,
happy to
those
just kind of
I
be in
feel
an
like
industry
those people
still.
are the most important to
They
speak up,
are.
though.
They are, but you're looking at an industry that's ready to just, mill you out, put in a new body. There's plenty of people looking for jobs in the game industry that have some level of experience, whether that's
Well, that's
actually
why we got
quality
so many
experience or not.
indies now, indie
Right,
companies. Like
right.
you obviously heard that like two studios formed out of CD Project Red.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
One of
yeah.
the vampire game, I think it is, that's being made from one of them.
Mhm.
Dawn something.
I can't say that I'm quite aware of what the name is right at the moment, but
I think
to
it's like
your point,
Dawnbreaker, not Dawnbreaker.
sounds
That's a weapon in Skyrim.
yeah.
Uh, I want to say Dawn, not Dawn Guard. That's another thing from Skyrim. What the fuck?
Uh,
But uh, I
I, I
think we
I
can
wouldn't worry
pretty
too much about
much.
it. But yeah, the there definitely is a thing where a lot of the old talent from when AAA titles were good have gone to break off of what is the thing that's known as a big IP, like GTA 6, right? I don't which is now officially delayed into 2026, a year from now.
I
And
don't think it's gonna be any good. All the flagship people are gone.
right. A lot of the main people that actually made that thing what it was over the course of decades have gone to do
Like
this
the
absurd
last people
ventures.
to leave were the leadership who created even the older games, right?
Right. Yeah. Back in 2020, I nearly got hired to work at Rockstar,
Yeah.
and I encountered a ethically beige woman at the end of the process who told me under no uncertain terms would I even be hired to work in QA. That's how I knew that they were fully in the woke train at that point in time, because I have spent and by that point in time I'd already spent over 400 days in Grand Theft Auto Online alone, right? amongst all my years of experience playing all the other games. Like Grand Theft Auto was the reason, not necessarily the reason, but it was one of the game companies. Rockstar that was where I wanted to work, right? And ultimately, one of my friends from college, he does work there. I believe still. I haven't talked to him in a few years because his brain broke during COVID Hell World, and I just really haven't. I mean, a lot of people have changed and shifted in the last 5 to 10 years from who they used to be, based on all this weird kind of stuff that's happening just in the world in general. But yeah, I was qualified enough, if not to be in the dev department, or the design department rather, but to at least be in the development process in QA, because I like to break things and figure out how to make them more resilient and resistant to being broken, going down the line and things
So
like that.
what, you would rather be like a game tester? Like, what do you mean by
Yeah.
breaking?
No, I did game testing for a company called Volt, which was a third party contract company that did game testing for Microsoft
Yeah, I
Xbox.
don't I don't think I'm very smart when it comes to looking for bugs, because
Right.
I can't think of something that instantly would get me like really to break the game.
Well,
Yeah, you've probably heard of the Spiffing Brit, right? That YouTuber.
I've heard
Like
the name, but I can't say I'm too familiar with him.
the dude within hours like can find every bug in the game. It's like he's you should really look into him because it is funny content.
Mhm.
He does it for every game, but actually reports the bugs to the devs. Like
Right.
he obviously abuses them before reporting it,
Well, that's
but
that's what game testing is you
yeah,
put
but no, but
you
these are
test
like
it
fully
beyond what.
launched games. These are not
Right.
like
Oh
in
yeah, and
development.
right, and there's a lot of that still creeps through, and more now that we have uh day zero updates. They'll ship a game before it's
Yeah,
on
day
final code.
one fucking updates and shit that literally are 100 gigabytes.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I'm saying is like they will uh and this is part of the reason why they want to move away from physical media, honestly, is they want to be able to have control over the code all the way up until the point of release, and then even after, obviously, as well. But when you go and you ship a game on a disc, it takes time to press all that stuff, to get everything all set up, so when a game goes gold, it's still another 2 to 3 months out from when it's actually going to arrive at the stores to be put on sale. And so that's 60 to 90 days of time that you can sit here and work on things. And so there will, yeah, going forward, back in the day, you made a game, you shipped a game, it had to be as good as it was going to be, because there wasn't, the opportunity to go and
I
do.
do feel eventually companies are gonna be sued for saying we don't own shit we buy, and it will be like, especially like with that. You heard of that movement some European guys starting, like
Yeah,
uh
yeah, I've covered it on Old White Road, or might have been one. It was a reality based show, because I think that was back when we were doing when I was doing
Well,
three
like
shows a
he
week.
pretty
But yeah,
much he wants like, because games that are online, like once you buy them and they shut down the servers, there's no playing it anymore. Like there's
right,
like, especially if there's no player run servers.
right. But a lot of that also has to do with just the nature of the way these game companies are set up these days. Like PSN is a
Well,
centralized
I think
network.
it's they're gonna get
Microsoft's a
sued
centralized
so
network.
much. They're gonna get sued so much that they are gonna go back to
Uh,
actually like
I mean, it's
going
one of those
back
things.
to
I
go
think to
on.
the buyer beware. I think it would be great if every game had an ad hoc mode to let you just do local, you know, uh, local crossplay, with just set up a couple systems here and there. But they're also geared towards online service models that they just kind of, it's baked into it now, where a lot of this has been set up for obsolescence. Now, I do think, every game should have an offline mode. I agree with it in principle. I
Well,
just don't know how
I think when
successful
it
it's going to
comes
be.
to online service games, they should offer player-run servers. Like that's the very least.
Well, it would be
Like,
great if they did ad hocs. Yeah, that's
oh,
let people.
that's
But
what
that would
that's
be
called. Okay, I
yeah, an
didn't
ad
know
hoc
that.
server is where I get to be the host and you get to be somebody
Oh no,
who's
I'm talking about like server hosting
Mhm.
websites,
Yeah,
stuff
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, and yeah. There's centralized. There's centralized, which
Yep.
is where you use PSN and all the stuff is done on their end, or it can be run through the company, which can still be centralized. Or there's ad hoc servers, and an ad hoc server is where I create the server and then people join my server and it's decentralized from anybody's control beyond that. But because they're so caught up in this idea of don't mess with our code, don't do modding, don't do this. If you do that, it's an
Well, did
infringement
you
on
hear
our
about
intellectual
Oblivion
property.
too? To bring it back to
Mhm.
Oblivion, you heard what that in their UER or EU
The EULA,
LA?
yeah.
Yeah, EULA. Pretty much like they have it actually in there that you're not allowed. They have anti-cheat,
Hmm.
and they pretty much say, and it pretty much blocks modding, or at least like easily.
Right,
Like it is still capable of modded, but apparently it's a lot more difficult.
right.
Or you
Yeah,
could be,
they
yeah.
did. They're doing the same thing with those Final Fantasy VII remakes because they don't want Tifa mods. Basically, people are still going to do them, but they're holding on to this idea because this is the whole thing about the way that current media properties work is Disney's not Disney anymore. It's the Buena Vista Corporation. It just uses the Disney logo. It hasn't been Disney for like 30 some odd years at this point in time, and that's becoming more of a trend. The more things kind of get bought up and gobbled up, there's only six main media companies in the
So
world, right? And so they everything gets homogenized under the banner of they want it to be iterative and they want it to be easy and they want to have control over it. They own it, not you, and that's ultimately what they're saying. I don't agree with it, but that's but they have the lawmakers in their favor. They have all this kind of stuff. They've been
well,
building
it
it
won't
towards this.
matter if specifically like a bunch of content creators do like start like, I mean, I'm sure it could, the movement to like keep games active, at least with player owned servers, it could get big enough to the point that it causes the EU specifically to cause laws that say that you do own your games and stuff that
Right.
will force them to pretty much
Well,
change
I
it.
certainly I certainly hope that it turns out well in that regard, and that is ultimately what takes place with it. But that's one of those things where it's uh it when you're talking about games on a global scale, uh, it is easier to try to have your code be consistent from region to region as much as possible. But then there's localization stuff. It could be a thing where in Europe they can't sit here and say that this intellectual property is owned by the copyright holder, and you're just using a service license. They could
Yep.
in theory, they can get away with that in Europe, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to carry over here to the U.S. because the way that the lobbyist system works within the government, the bureaucracy that we're talking about, it where corporations end and government begins is it's not even a line anymore; it's a smudge. They're so infiltrated back and forth with each other. A lot of lobbyists, you know, uh, the the governance of things in many ways is controlled in backroom dealings and stock
Yeah,
options, all this kind of stuff.
I think that when it comes to that type of stuff, I'd rather they not lobby shit, but like,
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I'm in full agreement with you there. It's just what we want and what we have to do to avoid that. That we're like 30, 40 years into a zombie economy right now. you know, the way that all this inflation stuff cycles and all this kind of stuff. And so the balance of the scale has been tipped intentionally to these large scale corporations, and the corporatist globalism, the stakeholders, you know, and a lot of things, they ultimately want to have top down control systems, and which is why you hear the whole thing about you'll own nothing, you can be happy, you don't own your games. But if you don't own the games, then technically how could you ever steal something that nobody can ever own? You know, so that's kind of my punk rock kind of solution to it. It's like, yeah, do what you want. A lot of times the games that are modded and hacked and cracked and all this kind of stuff, they'll actually play better. And there are often times where if you have a problem with your legitimate game, they have used game cracks to fix problems with games as the official way to take care of it. You know, when you need to get tech support involved because they don't know how to fix their own thing, so they're just ultimately relying on somebody who actually has the time and care and consideration to go and figure out how to get beyond these hurdles that have been put in place, largely for, you know, the sake of the bureaucracy. It's unfortunate, but yeah.
I would like to share something real quick. I
Yeah,
gotta
no worries.
remember how to do that.
What you want to do is present down at the bottom.
And then when you said to present a tab, I need to remove it from the one that's on screen.
Yeah. You want to have it in its own separate window instance, and it'll
Okay.
still read it as a tab. But if you have it in the same window, then you're not going to be able to see what we're doing on stream.
Yeah. 1 second.
Yeah.
Share screen. Where's my Twitter? I just wanted to share this because I thought it was interesting.
Yep.
Let me zoom in. How? What's the command to zoom in again?
Control, and if you have a scroll wheel on your mouse, you can just hold the
Okay.
control button and then scroll over.
But apparently, apparently people watch dub more than sub,
Right.
and I find this interesting because I feel like everyone who is like as interested as anime as most people, all say sub is infinitely better. But obviously, after COVID, I feel like a lot of people came to the medium of anime.
Mhm.
And pretty much now I feel like especially after COVID, dub is more popular because like, so when it comes to why I watch dub, it is because I try to do it on a second monitor.
Mhm.
And
Oh yeah, no, if you want something in the background that you can kind of just like look over it, but you can still hear it, because when you're watching something that's subbed, you have to pay attention. And
yeah,
we live
I obviously I can't understand Japanese, but
we
like
live in a cell phone culture, so you know, like people's attention spans are not, you know,
I
able to.
was raised before all that started,
Right,
so
right.
I don't
So
got
was
to
I,
handle
but
that.
I'm just saying, a lot of people's attention spans, they don't have the focus to watch something that's subbed, you know. So
Yeah,
dubbing makes more sense. That, and as you're saying, like if you're in a situation where you've got, you know, a secondary monitor, you know, and you just kind of want something that's ambient, and you know, you can kind of like look over at, but then you can still go about what you're doing. It is far more you know, easy to do that with something that's in your own language. Because yeah, like you say, if you don't know how to speak Japanese, you don't know how to hear it and listen to it and understand it, then yeah, you kind of have no other choice. But you know, because I mean,
have you
I
watched any anime recently?
I have recently Perfect Blue is my favorite anime of all time.
I have yet to watch that. You watched
And
Solo Leveling? Apparently that one's pretty good.
I know of it. Right now, on the Discord server on Monday nights, so we've got the Anna Matinee Theater, and we do Anna Mondays
Yep.
on Monday nights, and we watched through Death Note, and then once we got that finished, um, we started with Cowboy Bebop, and then sometimes, you know, one of my friends there, one of my admins, Mikey Doucette, the Goon Room, um, he likes to watch. We've been watching High School DxD and
Dude, that's actually I watched it and it's wild.
Yeah, yeah. But Perfect Blue, uh, I have watched recently subbed with my friend, who lives in Japan. Uh, she's Osaka Chandal. She makes really great YouTube content, tells ghost stories, and writes songs and performs. And she's really great. But because she's Japanese, we watched Perfect Blue together one night, and she's like, "Well, we're gonna watch the sub version." I was like, "All right, that's cool." And I had been watching.
I just gotta clarify something real quick
Mhm.
though. What? So I have to say, Solo Leveling is not an anime. I think it's called something else because it is
Oh,
Korean made.
yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
not Japanese.
It's similar to anime, but it's not. But yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah, with Perfect Blue though, I used to, because the audio or the English dub is really well done. However, um, the subtitled version of the movie is even better because there's a song that is in the Japanese version that is not in the English version, and the lyrics in the song have more to do with reinforcing the themes of what's happening in the movie at that point in time
This
than
is
this other song.
also this is also very true though.
Yeah.
Like no, I feel like most sub fans do pirate the anime because like I hate Crunchyroll too.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't stand them.
Localization is terrible. Yeah.
Well, not even that. They actively are like doing such bad business practices. They remove the chats and reviewing of anime and stuff. So
Yep.
you can no longer do reviews. You can no longer pretty much like comment on anime and stuff.
Right. Right. Well, again, that goes back to that whole thing about intellectual property rights holders and them, saying you don't have the right to criticize my work. you know and that's the thing too, is like, because we are living in a very sensorial time. uh the important thing to remember about rights is rights are not granted, privileges are granted, right? A right is something that you have innately born to you as a human right. And corporations, they call us consumers. They don't consider us to be customers. They don't understand that there's a reciprocity of exchange between, services rendered
Well, I
for.
can forgive places like Walmart calling us consumers, but not the entertainment industry.
But that's the thing though, is even Walmart, we're not consumers though. Cows are consumers. A consumer is something that just consumes, right? And a customer is somebody who has perspective, has discernment. You have to win people over, and I'm not a big fan of overly corporatized things. I think one of the problems that we have is, all, and this became even worse because of COVID Hell World, is a lot of the free market industry, not only in America but worldwide, that got shut down and destroyed. The economy shifted so much during the COVID Hell World kind of era. A lot of those small businesses, they're never coming
I'm
back,
not
and now they've
sure,
been
but
priced
they
out of the
might
market.
put something under the video about COVID now.
Oh yeah, possibly, but I believe enough of the evidence has come out that we should be safe. But hopefully, I didn't just get you shadow banned. But yes, of course, the vaccines are safe and effective. But uh, I will say that I was healthy until the day that I was around somebody who got a COVID vaccine. So,
But to be
but
fair, doesn't the vaccine like infect you with it with a I'm not sure how they make vaccines, but they pretty much the way
there's
I
different technologies. These new mRNA vaccines or something else entirely. Now, this is going to get you a warning. So
yeah, so
maybe this is a
let's
conversation
just
you want to
drop
have with
it.
me. Like, yeah,
I
you
I
can talk to
think
me
I'm
about this in
gonna
my Discord sometime.
yeah. I think I am gonna just cut the last topic, the apocalypse discussion, because I wanted to talk about this anime news about it
Yeah, yeah, by
being
all means.
sub, but more people watching dub than sub.
Yeah,
And also, this is definitely
worries.
true. More people watch sub pirate it than dub people pirate.
Right.
Let
Yeah.
me, okay, stop sharing screen. Let me,
Yeah. No. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to go with things that are done on a quote unquote pirate level than there is through the official means, and that a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about, the bureaucratic, ideological kind of mindsets, the we can't offend anyone, we can't go and have something that is culturally, sensitive to this part of the world, and so we're going to change it to something that, we feel is more appropriate for this space. It's like, dude, a story is a story, regardless where it comes from. It's either good or it's not. Uh, I I think that we live in a time where there's far too much of this nanny state. Let me take care of you. Let me never let you suffer. Let me make sure that
I
you
feel
know,
like people are genuinely like babied at this point,
yeah,
like adults. Like, it's sad.
yeah. Yeah, they're in various stages of arrested development more often than not. There are a lot of overgrown children at this point in time that have children of
I
their own.
do feel like when it comes, like, apparently, I'm not sure if you heard, but there is a rise in people who are Catholic and stuff in
Mhm,
America.
mhm.
So, like, apparently, a lot of younger people are becoming more religious because it is the counterculture.
It is far more counterculture this day and age to be respectful and accountable and responsible and things like that. So
Well,
that
that's
is
what really religion does teach you. Most of them, like, actually teach you to respect people and stuff. It is just like the Bible is the reason why we have so many of the laws we do. The New Testament, I'm talking about, like, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, all that type of shit. And obviously, like, that's why we have those laws, is because like we base them off of that.
Yeah, I mean, the word Biblos itself means truth, and so it was the first mass-produced book in the world. This is how most people learned to read from the Bible back in the day. Like that was like the book. Um, and I myself, I try to act in accordance of good faith. I used to date this Pentecostal girl when I lived in Washington, and I would go to
Yep.
church with her, and um, I would sit there in church with my eyes closed, and she thought I was trying to sleep, and I was just like, no, I'm trying to actually listen to what this dude's saying. You got me sitting in this room with all this horror lighting, and there's a house band up there and a 60 screen, like I'm at a movie theater. It's like, what is this? Like, you want me to
There
like,
is a problem with those types of churches. I always love the more minimalistic
right,
churches
right.
because there's a problem with these big mega churches. And I always love cathedrals. I think they look
Mhm.
great, but even those are a bit too much.
Right. Well, at least with a cathedral, they were made during a point in time where, like, like the opulence and whatnot was like a way of kind of stating a testament to the holiness of the thing, and so they wanted it to be, more refined and, just actually kind of, just pristine. They wanted it to reflect, in some essence, as a manifestation of the glory of God, as it were. But yeah, no, like I say, I don't necessarily adhere to any one specific religion. My lady friend in Japan, she's a Buddhist, obviously, but I
I
truly
wouldn't
believe.
say obviously. There are a lot of Christians in
Sure, sure,
Japan
sure, but
too.
sure there are, but I'm not saying there isn't. I'm just saying, but she's you know
Well, it is the actually isn't like a lot of Chinese people also Buddhists or
I couldn't say specifically. I know there is a wide variety of religions throughout the world, but the main thing all religions have is they operate
yeah.
under tenets of good faith. And if you're in accordance to good faith, I tend to say that faith is the head, religion is the hat, and if you get caught up on the silly hat, then you're never going to meet anybody, you know, uh, in an actual ideological, discussion head to head, and I think that if you can act in accordance to good faith. It doesn't really matter what someone's religion is per se.
I think that at least the Bible is a good
Oh,
book. Like,
sure.
it is a good book in terms of it is a good guideline to follow to be a decent human being. The Old Testament isn't, but obviously the New Testament is the new, like, I'm not sure how to describe it because I'm not well in tune with my own religion. I do believe in it, but like, obviously the New Testament is like the book to follow if you are even a good person.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a Mormon household, so we also had the Book of Mormon in addition to that. So it's like 3 books,
Damn, you
and the Book of
both,
Mormon
you
also
and
has
Akko, huh?
well, I mean, I said I grew up in it. I didn't say that I was,
Well,
like I
I
said.
thought Akko was Christian. Is Mormon Christian? I thought it was like a.
Yeah. No, it's like it's this whole other thing though. It's kind of like
Did you
it's
have
kind
to do
yeah,
like,
it's
because I have a Mormon friend, so did you have to do like a pilgrimage or some shit? Like,
no. Their thing is you get baptized when you're 8 years old, and then it's when you're accountable for your own transgressions and this and that. And then they also do baptisms for the dead, which
okay,
is
8
highly
might be a bit
controversial.
young for transgressions to be put on a child, but that's just me.
Right. But that's kind of the thing. Like, but you also have to remember that this religion was developed when people were getting married when they were 12 and 13. You know,
Really? Mormons that old?
yeah. I mean, like you're talking about like this is a religion. All right, so you know how like Scientology is a quote unquote it's a religion, right?
Yeah, you yell just like the spaghetti monster.
Right. Um, to me, that's kind of Mormonism, and I could, and as having grown up in it, there are a lot of decent Mormon people that are, they act in accordance to good faith. I think it
Well,
really
I
comes
will
down to that
say
more
there is
than
one Mormon I could go to war with, and I would love. It's from New Vegas,
Mhm,
obviously Joshua Graham.
mhm. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I've known, Mormons are just like any other kind of people. There's sinners everywhere. Like that's the thing is saints sat with sin throughout eternity. Like the word saints is literally sat and sinned, you know. And so that's one of those things that I just kind of reflect on, and it's like, far too many people use their religion, their adherence, quote unquote, to
Well,
religion.
you're all so when it comes to that type of stuff, I hate it because like you're supposed to attack the sin, not the person.
Right. And so there's a lot of pharisaical people these days, and unfortunately, a lot of modern religions are almost more in line with the teachings of Lucifer, than they are the teachings of Christ, because it's all like,
Well, they're
oh
more
well,
in tune with the Old Testament when the Old Testament was the false teachings, the New
right,
Testament was the correct teachings.
right. But what I'm saying is like, how like Lucifer got condemned and tossed out of heaven because he said, "I will return them to you. I will make them be good." You know,
Yeah.
and so when you start dealing with people that are really hardcore about their religion, whatever it might be, and they just can't see anything outside of that, those are pharisaical people. They want the appearance of doing good. They want all the kind of, I'm this, so obviously I'm a good sound person. That's my whole thing. The weird stuff with JDA is he's a guy who does not do his supposed faith any favors because he's so wrapped up in his religion that he has no faith left. you know he's his stranglehold on it has made his faith escape him, and if you're not exactly what he sees as this is what the world is, then he's going to call you an extreme
Uh,
wokist. you know
to
but
do like to just like, I mean, we could discuss about this later,
yeah,
to be honest.
yeah,
But I did want to say I wouldn't mind buying you the Game Pass so you could play the Oblivion Remaster because
right.
I do think it's a good game. I wouldn't mind spending a month to get you it, to be honest. I'm not sure if I could gift that though. I'd probably just have to send you
Yeah, I
money
was gonna
for
say,
it.
if you send me some cash, I mean, like I can run Game Pass on my Steam Deck, so
You
Yeah,
can? I didn't know that.
I can run Game Pass on my Steam Deck. I can run it on my phone with my
Can
Backbone.
you
Yeah,
play the Oblivion Remaster though on the Steam Deck?
I don't see why not.
I mean, I'm not sure how powerful it is, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, when you're doing Game Pass stuff, does it actually download the game to your system, or is it playing?
It downloads to your system.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, you can emulate yeah. I know Game Pass stuff works with Steam Decks. It may not be
With
necessarily
me,
intended
I'm
to, but
not buying the game because I don't want to support Bethesda because I
right,
know this just wins them. And so
right,
I'm just playing Game Pass.
right. Well, yeah. Hey, that would if you're willing to uh foot the bill, then yeah, I can put in a few hours in Elder Scrolls for sure, and maybe even check out a few other things that are going on right now because I believe that Expedition 33
Yeah,
is
that
also
is
on.
on Game Pass. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
no, I
don't
mean,
really want to play it because I'm not too big into people call it a JRPG, but like I'm like those types of art like it's styled off of JRPGs, but it is
mhm.
not a JRPG.
Well, technically speaking, it's not a Japanese
No,
game,
no,
but
I know,
but it
but
is, but yeah,
it is based like because you have like the style combat of JRPGs.
mhm,
You also have the high numbers, like the numbers for attacks go super high, and that's usually
right,
a Japanese thing.
right.
Because like regular RPGs, like Western ones, tried to do lower numbers.
Right, right. Well, I think that in some ways, like they almost want it to seem more attainable. And it is by using the lower numbers, and then the bigger numbers make it feel like like you've done this
You're a
great
literal
epic.
god.
Right. So it's all just kind of like the way that the presentation is. So, um, but I mean, ultimately, the number is just kind of an it's a perceptive kind of thing. It might you could have the exact same outcome with different numbers, and you wouldn't know uh, based on anything other than the way that those numbers kind of are.
Before we hop off, I do
Mhm.
ask something. How do I make you? So if you want to post your links, that's fine.
Yep.
But
To
I'm
make
not
a
sure how to. I have to make you a mod for you to post
Yeah,
them.
it's a little bit different on YouTube. You should just be able to click on my
No, I
name.
made you. I think I made you a mod on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, in
Uh,
Rumble, it's a little bit differently. In Rumble, you have to go and copy and paste the name, and then you go into your management section. I'll show you afterwards.
yeah,
You don't have to do it during the live stream on Rumble like the way that you do for YouTube. You can do it outside of the stream itself. So that one's pretty
yeah.
straightforward.
All right.
But I mean, I'm not too worried about posting links right at the moment. It's
Well,
just
you want to say anything else, or
yeah. I mean, I guess if you're looking to get a hold of me, the easiest way these days is right here. As you can see on my screen, problematic_John on X or on YouTube. If you do want to follow me on Rumble, it's just problematic white guy, no spaces, and I think that you should be able to find if you go to my X Discord or my X profile, you can get a link to the FFS Discord if you want to read through that crazy thing that happened with JDA. That's in the general section right now. Still, fairly recent. But yeah, I should also have links to my YouTube and my Rumble through there. I've got everything kind of linked up through those. So the easiest way to get a hold of me is just use my X account, and then that will lead you anywhere else that you want to go. But other than that, I guess since I do stream all the time, if you enjoy what we've done here and you're kind of interested in listening to me talk about other things, tomorrow on Will of the Fans, who thank you again for stopping in the chat at the beginning of all this, although I know you've left to get some sleep. I'll be doing Who TF Cares. It used to be Who TF Live, but at this point in time, I was like, yeah, but Who TF Cares makes more sense. And so we're doing the new season. We'll be talking about episode 4 tomorrow, which is what I'm going to be watching right after we get done with this, amongst a few other things. And then throughout the week, of course, I'm on Toasty with the Mosty, part of the Gooner Squad. We do that 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central, Sunday through Tuesday, and Thursday and Friday. And of course, Will of the Fans, same time, is also on Tuesdays and Thursdays as WTF Live. And I'm also on Reality Based on Fridays at 4 p.m., same time as this. And I'm usually only there for about 90 minutes or so because we go right into Toasty's show right after that. So yeah, I'm often found on other people's channels. At some point down the line here in the next few months, I should have my Rumble. I should have everything transferred over from my YouTube channel over to my Rumble. If you still want to watch stuff on YouTube, by all means, do whatever you feel you're comfortable with. But I primarily, I'm trying to lead people on a Rumble revolution because I find that YouTube is kind of I call it an exploitation ghetto because it doesn't seem like it's really built well for creators or the audience or even the advertisers that all their scheming is built around. So yeah, follow me on X and preferably Rumble, but YouTube's fine as well. It's whatever. It's not like I'm going to have anything coming out too soon on any of those channels. So check out those other channels that I mentioned, and there's links to all those channels on my YouTube. So if nothing else, you can go to my YouTube to find all the other channels that I'm a part of. But this has been fun. It's for as far as first episodes go. I think this is definitely. I've been on a few maiden voyages with new streamers and things like that, doing stuff like this, and I think this is far better than the last person that I was doing production work for that. that started doing streaming kind of seemingly out of just the desire to do it. So, you got a good passion for this, I think. And, as long as you're interested in what you're talking about and, actually do the thing, I think that this will be a fun show to do, at least initially every 2 weeks until we get to the point to where it seems a little bit more viable to just do it every Saturday. But yeah, this has been great. With that said, safe travels ahead. Have a wonderful weekend going forward, and be awesome as always, everyone.
All right, I'm gonna end it here then.
Yep.
Obviously sub and stuff to John and also me. I want to get to the partner thing on Rumble, hopefully.
Yeah.
So
that's far easier than it is to do the monetization.
Yeah, definitely.
I have 2 friends. Of course, Toasty, she got monetized over there in under a month. And then I have a friend, Mikey Doucette, the Goon Room. He went from not having a Rumble account to he's fully monetized now in under a month's time.
Well, then he gets scared. Or no, that was someone else, right? So, someone someone was getting mass followed and he got scared.
No, that's someone else. Yeah, that's someone else. But
okay.
Yeah. I haven't really dug too deep into all that. He said he was kind of concerned about a thing. He also is fully monetized. So you can get fully monetized on Rumble in about a month's time of investment in doing the process. So for any new people out there that are interested in content creation, join the FFS Discord and get a hold of me through DMs, and I can try to do what I can to kind of give you some guiding lights or get you in contact with Ryan Roger Thay to be on one of his mini live streams during the week, which I will talk to him about tomorrow to see whenever we can get you scheduled into doing perhaps a system crash episode on a Wednesday if you're available for those, or Mondays.
I think so obviously I told you I'm leaving from the 17th to the 24th, so
right.
It would have to be either before that, like the 7th or the 14th, or after that. So
okay. Well, like I said, I'll let him know, and I'll have him get in contact with you directly, or you can just DM him through the Discord. and
He prefers apparently X.
he does
so
prefer X. He does prefer X. Yes, he does. Yeah.
Alright,
So
I
yeah,
am
you can,
gonna end it though. I did so I will talk to you guys later, and then we'll be back in like if not the week before, so like if not the 10th, we'll be at least back the 31st.
indeed.
So talk to you guys later.
Indeed. Safe travels, everybody.